You see the message about tonight's plan getting canceled. Your first reaction isn't disappointment. It's a feeling of relief you can't even explain. And what that says about your brain has nothing to do with being antisocial. You sit with your phone still warm in your hand. The group chat stops moving after the last cancellation message. No reply is needed anymore, and that part feels unusually quiet. There's a small pause where you should feel something obvious, a bit of disappointment, maybe some guilt, or an obligation to reschedule for another day. But it doesn't arrive the way people assume it should. Instead, your shoulders drop slightly without permission. You don't celebrate it. You just notice the sudden space. But that reaction confuses you more than the cancellation itself, because you still like people, and you still show up when you have to. You just feel a massive difference when the room stops asking for you. And that difference is what most people misunderstand. It is not a part of your personality, but something else happening underneath your nervous system. The question isn't why you stayed home. It's what your system was doing while everything got quiet. And it starts in moments like this one. Most people think the story begins after you stay alone, but the real signal shows up before you even decide anything. Your phone lights up on the table. It's a text from a friend. So sorry, something came up for tonight. Rain check? Most people would feel a sting of disappointment when plans fall through at the last minute. But you're different. The very first thing you feel is a strange, overwhelming sense of relief. You set the phone down and take a long, deep breath. Your shoulders, which were tight just a second ago, finally drop. You sink back into the cushions of your favorite sofa. Why does staying home feel so much better than the night out you were actually looking forward to? It's easy to start overthinking, wondering if there's something wrong with you for feeling this way. But the truth is, you don't hate your friends. This is just your brain's natural response to being overstimulated by the world. It is starving for space. When that notification pops up, your brain flips into survival mode. It sees this unexpected gap in your schedule as a lifeline to finally recharge. The strange part isn't that you wanted to stay home. That matters, because this isn't really about staying home. People always assume that solitude means disconnection, but those two things are not the same thing. The outside world only sees your behavior. They see you turning down an invitation, leaving a text unread, or being the very first person to slip out of a party. They interpret those actions through their own lens, completely blind to the neurological state driving them. And just like that, you get labeled as cold, distant, or antisocial. You want to explain it, but you stay quiet, because you're afraid that the truth will just sound like an excuse. Wrong category. Most judgments start after the behavior, not before it. And the behavior itself comes from somewhere much deeper. The exhaustion rarely starts after people leave. It starts while they're still talking. Imagine a dinner that drags on for just 1 hour too long, and the conversations around you just keep going. You are still sitting there, but your mind checked out a long time ago. You're still there. Your attention isn't. This has nothing to do with your social skills. The truth is, you just hit your stimulation threshold much faster than everyone else. Your brain is like a glass of water that is already full to the brim. But new information and new stories from the room, they just keep pouring in. The system inside is completely overwhelmed. As a result, you start feeling deeply drained, easily irritated, and unable to focus on anything at all. At that point, the only thought left in your head is, I need quiet right now. before I can think again. The problem isn't people, because something different happens when the noise stops. The insight usually arrives after everyone is gone. It's when you're walking alone down a quiet street, staying under the shower longer than usual, or just sitting in your car for 10 minutes before opening the front door. Most people think solitude is just about taking a break, but the truth is, it holds a much larger purpose. It is the only space where you can finally hear your own thoughts. When you are constantly interacting, your brain has to put a backlog of unprocessed emotional signals on hold. Only when you are alone do those pieces begin to fall into place. Then it clicks. You suddenly realize, oh, that's what was actually bothering me all day. Without these quiet gaps in your schedule, you slowly lose a clear sense of yourself. You live, but you don't really know what you are feeling anymore. Silence isn't empty for you, but this is where things get dangerous. Two people can spend the same Friday night alone, but only one of them is actually free. On the surface, their behavior looks exactly the same. Same behavior, different story. The real difference doesn't lie in what they are doing, but in the deeper motive behind it. One person stays home to recharge, preparing for their next steps, while the other person stays home. They're simply because they are trying to run away from the pressure of the world outside. Confusing healthy recovery with escaping reality is the most dangerous trap of all. At that point, a sudden question pops up in your mind. Wait, which one am I? The real question isn't whether you're alone, it's why you need to be. Healthy solitude expands your world instead of shrinking it. After a full day spent by yourself, you don't feel the urge to hide anymore. Instead, you actively pick up your phone to text a friend, and you feel genuinely ready for the next social gathering. That is when your body's need for recovery has been fully met. Your nervous system is no longer on high alert, and your internal battery is completely recharged. It opens. At that point, the only thought left in your head is, I think I'm ready now. Even if this lifestyle sometimes causes misunderstandings or brings a few judgments from people around you, you don't really mind it anymore. Distance isn't the goal. The other version does the opposite. Protection and preference can look identical on the surface. It's when you want to text someone so badly, but you pull your hand back. You crave to join the fun, but you choose to stay home anyway. You long to be understood, but you refuse to explain yourself. The truth is, you aren't addicted to being alone. You are addicted to not being hurt. Your brain has started linking connection with everyone around you as a painful risk. That's the trap. You soothe yourself with a gentle lie. It's just easier this way. But you didn't choose peace. You just chose to hide behind a heavy wall. A safe life can become a small life. Your world, day by day, gets narrower, suffocating, and lonely. There's one way to tell the difference. Don't look at the solitude. Look at what follows it. Simple test. After hours or days spent in your own space, pay close attention to the next direction of your mind. If that alone time leaves you feeling lighter, re-energized, and ready to open up to the world again, then that is true recovery. But if it only makes you want to sink deeper into the dark, increasingly afraid of stepping outside, then you aren't resting. You are building a prison. Misreading this signal will cause you to forever misunderstand your own inner world. Your solitude reveals itself by what it grows. It can either nurture a free spirit, or it will feed a deep, hidden fear. You are not an antisocial outcast. You are just someone learning how to find yourself, right in the middle of the noise. The issue was never whether you enjoy being alone. It's whether that silence brings you back to yourself or pushes you further away from everything that used to feel familiar. Some people don't need to look for solitude. They just recognize what happens once the noise finally stops. You are not someone who avoids social connections. You are just the person who notices overload much earlier than others and steps out before it turns into pure exhaustion. If everything goes quiet around you and you feel your mind becoming clearer instead of smaller, then that tells you a profound truth. Think back to your last moment of real solitude. Was it a conscious choice, or was it just an escape route? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If this speaks directly to the feelings you've never been able to put into words before, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the upcoming stories. Some people don't get lonely when things end. They just finally hear themselves again.